Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. What a 24 hours, Rick Bannerow is saying. Indeed. Ed Worley, here we go again. Graham Sweeney is standing by in Scotland. Good morning, Graham. I trust you're well.
I'm fine, thank you, Tom. Are you well?
What is it? Yeah, I am, thanks. I feel pretty good today. 1300 your time in Scotland and Yell in Shetland. Thank you for joining us as we kick this one off. Show number 741 for Friday the 30th of August. Not our normal Friday show. In fact, I don't think we're going to do a normal Friday show. I got to think about that for another couple hours because I think it's going to be a busy morning here. Hopefully there's some wind. Hopefully there's enough wind to go yacht racing. Graham, what's your analysis of the news from yesterday? What I'm calling the whack-a-mole. Some of the FOSI are calling the whack-a-mole cup because of the guys in the cockpits. So the heads up and down in the cockpits, kind of a cool thing. By the way, if you want to join Graham on the Zoom, meeting ID 267-220-6570. Passcode is 1851, 267-220-6570, 1851 the passcode. Pedro Foiling Sailor is ready to go sleepy bye down there in Sydney. Well, okay. Chris Odorowski's out on a fantastic, that big blue boat you may have seen in the background of some of the racing over the past, last weekend's 4 days of racing and yesterday. He and Sean are out on that yacht. As I see somebody else dialing in, that looks like Edith. Look at that picture. Wow. Looks model-esque. Ted Ryman checking in from Cape Town. There she is live. Turn your camera sideways, Edith, if you can. And then there's Peter Harkin. There we get a horizontal shot of the two of you. And let me see if I can get ESPN Plus as I talk into my remote. And see if I can get ESPN Plus going here. It's on the cable, it's not as easy, America's Cup, as it is on a computer. I have a computer backup just in case I can't get it on the cable, but have had no problem so far getting it on the cable. Let's see if we can dial it up here. America's Cup special event, Barcelona. That looks promising. And it also comes up on YouTube, but I can't see it here in the U.S. on YouTube. As we look over here on the big TV screen. Preliminary regatta, we don't want that. We don't want that. We maybe go down here. Let's see if I can find this thing. That looks promising. Day 2, not preliminary regatta. This is the problem with ESPN Plus on the cable. It's a bit croutonic to try to tune this in. This is Brian Prince checking in with us. And we should be live now by a couple, 3 minutes. Very light air and very hot it is this morning. ESPN Plus, or so I'm hearing from Magnus the Magnificent. Magnus the Magnificent in Barcelona. Try again here to see if we can get, there we got some live action. Including, there it is, live. 37th America's Cup. I've got a computer hooked up to the system that I can always go to the computer. When you're live streaming, you have to have backups to backups. And there it is. They're showing pictures. We are live. Let's see what they're saying here. We'll cut to that.
You can imagine the reaction from the team after a stunning win against Lino Rossa earlier in the day.
There are the pictures of the crash, of them dropping the boat and the aftermath. Not actual. I haven't seen actual, actual video of it. Let's listen to Grant.
Like a bomb went off and the boat dropped about 6 meters onto its cradle. It's still a bit early to know exactly how much damage. We've been inside the boat and you can hear in the background them tapping it out just for structural damage at the moment. But until we can secure it with a new crane and
okay, so that was that video. I played that. In fact, I think I had that video before anybody else did last night. And several others from Barcelona contributed pictures and so on. I appreciate very much the FOSI too, who came along and helped me update that story as it broke no pun intended, yesterday afternoon. You wouldn't wish this on any team. And thank goodness, okay, this is the incident many of you remember in Bermuda when the Kiwis capsized and were able to fix the boat overnight. And Daltz is talking about that. Let's let them carry on with that because it's pretty light, as I said, and we'll see if whether or not there's racing straight away. They had a 35-minute delay yesterday waiting for the breeze to fill in, such as it did, 7 knots, maybe tops, maybe 8. Here are the standings, or sorry, I should say the results yesterday. Orient Express beat Alinghi Red Bull Racing. Impressive day for the French. Impressive day for the French. Then Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli losing to ETNZ when ETNZ basically just sailed up to them on, what was it, the second weather leg, and Sail was at the third weather leg. I can't remember. Just sailed right up to them. There was a little bit of attacking duel. And the Kiwis tried to do a face plant. Sorry, the Luna Rossa Prada, better have more coffee here. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli tried to do a face plant on Emirates Team New Zealand. And ETNZ literally, having come out of the attack earlier, just sailed right past them, and then into the lead. So that was very impressive indeed. But nonetheless, LRPP looks pretty good in the light, having lost yesterday to ETNZ and then coming back and waxing Orient Express in race 4. New York Yacht Club's American Magic was a, no pun intended, up and down day, as they, at the start, were off the foils, and they were 700 meters behind at the start, behind their rival Ineos Britannia. The Brits sailed off to a big lead, maintained that lead until the last 2 legs when the Americans steadily closed up, but then dramatically closed up on the final leg, but ran out of runway. They couldn't quite catch up to the Brits before the finish line. I think they were 100 meters behind. So they were pretty pleased about that. Ted Ryman saying, yes, American Magic is very fast, but most of the keen observers are ranking Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli as the consistently quick challenger. Consistently quick challenger. They have a little problem coming out of tacks. The back end of their boat, their rudder is sliding. They've got a very small-ish rudder, which and small rudder foils, and that's causing them some problems apparently coming out of the tacks. There are the results. Man, it's light. Just look at that. And we've got only 3 matches apparently today because, well, what are they showing here? They're showing the first match is the U.S. against the Swiss. That's correct. But as you know, there's no Kiwis racing today because of their dropping the boat onto the cradle yesterday. The crane actually broke. I'm sure you all know that. And depending upon who you believe, it dropped 5, 6, 7, even maybe as much as 8 meters. So somewhere between 20 and 30 feet, which is a real concern with a fragile carbon boat. The Brits and LRPP, now these are just the 5 challengers because the results from the Defender do not count in the challenger standings. So the Brits and the Italians on 1 win at the top of the leaderboard. Orient Express 1-1 yesterday, having sailed 2 races, and then Alinghi and New York Yacht Club's NIAM, as I call them, on 0 wins coming out of day 1. No racing today for NZL. Correct, David Price. Could this be the cup where the fastest boat will not win? No, Jonathan Frank, in my never so humble opinion, the fastest boat always wins, and we will see who's fastest come October. Alan Long, I got a notice a few minutes ago from NZL saying minor damage in the rear, but most of the damage by the forward cradle area have already started work and sounding optimistic. Yes, as they would. Richard Gladwell, by the way, has a very good report. There's the picture from yesterday. Richard Gladwell has a very good report up on our overnight on sail-world.com. Go have a look at that if you haven't seen that already. Tier de Jong asking, is there wind today? No, there's not much wind. It's pretty light. Talking again with Magnus the Magnificent, he was not very optimistic that they would get racing off today in this first match, American Magic, against Alinghi Red Bull Racing. So we'll see if that gets delayed or if that gets off on time. As you know, they need that 5-minute rolling boxcar average of at least 6.5 knots over that 5-minute average. And there is, again, that close-up look of the boat after it was dropped. That is ETNZ's boat after it was dropped into the cradle from the crane broke, and it was some 5, 6, 7, maybe as much as 8 meters above the cradle. Apparently not much damage in the back. And the front cradle, you can see, went forward. It collapsed a bit forward, and it's being held up there by ratchet belts, tension belts, as you can see. And we shall see what other damage there might have been in the front end of the boat, because apparently, too, the foil arms hit the hard. And how hard they hit the hard remains to be seen, but that's jamming the foil arms up into the boat. Now, those are very strong mechanisms. They got to carry the weight of the yacht when they're foiling. So we'll see how that all goes. Stingray checking in from Seattle. He is not going to go to Barcelona, he tells me now. He rented an apartment and was planning to go over, but for personal and other reasons, deciding he's going to stay put in Seattle, saying it's only 4 to 9 knots. You can see this is pretty dreary looking. They've already started the average. There's a boat, though, foiling there in the background of that shot. 6:50 is the time. There's American Magic, not being towed onto their foils. So this schedule today, as you can see in that slide, for the 30th of August, Friday, is a USA against SUI, Swiss. Then the Kiwis, who are not racing, against the Brits, so the Brits will take that one off. Then the Italians against the Americans. That should be an interesting race. And then the Kiwis had a 2-race day against the French, and I don't know if they're going to push any of those matches forward, or we're only going to see 2 matches today. There is Alinghi foiling along okay, so there must be enough pressure at the moment. They're up on their foils for what is day 30. 30th of August, day 2. I need to wake up here. Hello, Krasimir in Bulgaria. Alistair Murray damage not as bad as expected. Expecting to miss today. And Richard Gladwell's article reporting they probably are out till next Wednesday. Hello, Jamie Hutchison. Good morning to you. I gotta wake up here. 05:12 here in the morning. I got a good night's sleep. Went to bed early. Feel good. Day 2 of the Louis Vuitton Cup, the Challenger Selection Series, as Fritz Mueller joins in from Miami. Again, Alinghi looking pretty good on the foils. Jib size. I've repurposed my graphic overnight, but I can't get the experts to agree on the jib sizes, whether or not what I'm calling in this slide a number 2. But if you look at the jib sizes, that's apparently most agree that's a number 4, a code 4 on ETNZ. That is on Ineos, that's a code 3. Most experts agree. Then whether this is a code 1 or a code 2, there's disagreement. Different teams call them different things. If it's a full hoist jib, some would say that's a code 1. But it's not a full hoist jib. As you can see, it's a partial hoist jib. And if I go over here on camera 4, you can see it's down at about the second speed stripe on the mainsail. If it went all the way up, they would say that I think that would be a code 1. Therefore, I think on Alinghi, that's a code 2. But how would you know? Because the teams call them different things. The experts are disagreeing. That, to me, looks like a code 3, likewise on Ineos. That, to me, looks on American Magic. That looks like a code 2. You can't really see the 2 very well on that graphic. I do have a 2 in there. That looks like a code 2 to me, not a code 1. And then on Orient Express over there is likewise, I think, is a code 3. So we'll see the various jib sizes as we await. What are they saying there? Yeah, that start is light. It's the breeze is light. The start delayed again as they restarted the clock back up to 8.5 minutes.
don't know if that
and Alinghi is off their foils. They seem to be relaxing now. They need to damp that wind down.
Surprises out there for either of you?
7.5 knots. It's changing too quickly. You can see neither boat foiling. What are they saying here?
They were in a lighter side of the course, and that was really tricky.
Both
for
have
them as
code
a team
2s
to,
up by my
dig their way out.
estimation.
But we saw them come back, and we saw them sail right up the exhaust pipe of the British down the track. And
Glenn Ashby saying that the Americans, after they did get on their foils in that race against the Brits, sailed right up their exhaust pipes. Okay. Pretty light. Today, the 30th of August, is Jimmy Buffett Day. Pete Carriço, I hope I pronounced that right now, Carriço, Portuguese name. We worked on that pronunciation yesterday. Alex Hayworth, power failure on the cramp. Power failure, that's news. FOSI Alex Hayworth, who's got a lot of good inside scoop from the various teams, including and especially the Brits. Power came back on with the stick control in the drop position. Crane wasn't programmed properly as they have speed limits on hoist drop speed. There's a good piece of intel if that's true, and I have every reason to believe coming from Alex that it is true. Happy Jimmy Buffett Day, and good morning, everybody. We'll look at the wind speed here for a minute. I think I'll go away from this boring slide. By the way, there's the boat. That boat is the boat that our FOSI Sean Otorowski and her husband, Commodore Chris Otorowski, I believe, are on that boat, John Heal's boat. Big, beautiful, what is that? A swan something. See the New York Burgee at the top. I believe they're out on that boat. And Edith and Peter Harkin are at their apartment, and they've also joined again today. That nice model-esque shot of Edith Harkin. And there is Graham Sweeney. Graham, good morning to you again, sir. What's your analysis as we go into what looks like a very light air day?
Yeah, you said it. It's very light, isn't it? I mean, is there going to be any racing? If there is, I don't think it's going to be much of a race, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's my pessimism.
Well, Magnus the Magnificent was not very optimistic when I texted with him an hour or so ago. Claire Harrington, the Vice Commodore's on here. I believe she is in Barcelona, unless she's headed to Barcelona today. I may have missed that by a day. And she is. She says that yacht is called Whisper. You notice how New York puts and I've always used this convention. They put the yacht name in caps, which goes back to the days before typewriters could do much more than caps. Some people underline the name of a yacht. Some people now put it in italics. Yes, she's in Barcelona. Claire is already there. She did fly last night. Krasimir saying same wind like yesterday. And Graham, it's going to be lightish. Great shirt, Phil Laffin is saying.
Yes, it's my homage to Mr. Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy Buffett Day, his birthday, the late, great Jimmy Buffett, who was an icon in the Cup in, let me remember when, I guess it was Australia in 1987 when he was with Team Dennis Conner. And ever since. There's some more video of them inspecting the boat yesterday afternoon after it fell some distance from the cradle. There's always damage you don't realize that has taken place when that happens. Like, as I said on one of my Facebook posts yesterday, you can end up with the big steel pulley that's got the wire that's coming down from the crane top, and then the big hook that hooks into the straps that coming from the yacht, however, the central lifting point on the yacht. And that apparently swung into the mast after the boat came down into the cradle, and there's other, whiplash and so on of the rig, and what was the tensioning of the rig, and how did the electronics, did they take the bounce okay or not? So you never know. One never knows. I'm going to switch back here on to the weather slide. As you see here, excuse me, at 1400 today, it's now 1420 there in Barcelona. We're talking about 7 knots, gusting 7. So just barely above the 6.5 knot average wind speed, minimum wind speed necessary to run a yacht race. They're saying on this slide only 81 Fahrenheit. So what is 81 Fahrenheit? 20 what? What is that gram in Celsius?
I honestly don't know.
I think that's 29, 28. Maybe not
weather
quite.
For me is measured by goosebumps.
Well, you're in Scotland. How warm is it there?
It's about 14 degrees today and sunny.
14 Celsius. So what is that in 50, 55, 60 Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
I have to always do this. Hey, Siri, what is 14 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit? Oh, it came up, didn't talk to me. I have my phone off. It's 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Chilly there.
Yeah.
Chilly there. Well, it's, hey.
I'm underdressed.
You're underdressed. Well, you got Jimmy Buffett attire on. Every day is Jimmy Buffett Day. Fins up, Mark Atchison is saying. Hey, Siri, what is 81 Fahrenheit in Celsius? She says it's 27 Celsius, but I think it's actually warmer than that. Maybe it's humid. Maybe if we check in with our other FOSI there, if Edith and Peter Harkin can tell us, what is the temperature in knots? Pedro Foiling Sailor is asking. We'll see if we get a report from Edith and Peter Harkin. She's got her Zoom cover photo on. Beautiful photo, beautiful lady she is. Dermatologist. There she is. Edith, good afternoon to you. Hello, Peter. Harcooney, how hot is it there? How humid is it? You're muted, maybe. We don't hear you. Push on your microphone button there and give us some audio.
Okay, here you go. You can say that.
There we got you. Good morning, good afternoon to you. Peter Harkin, Edith Harkin in Barcelona.
Well, there isn't much hot racing right now, but there's a lot of hot women around, so what the heck, you know? Either one.
Well, yeah, hot women indeed, especially the one right there next to you. I know you've lost another hot woman. I know Sean Otorowski and Commodore Chris Otorowski are out on Whisper. Is that right, John? Is it Heel? H-E-L-E? Is that how you pronounce his last name? I think Claire will correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. The esteemed New York Yacht Club member, big, beautiful, what is it, a Swan something, 80? Big boat, Whisper, and the Otorowskis are out on that yacht. What other news overnight, Peter? Oh, we lost you there from your camera. Any news? There you go. Any news about emanating out of the ETNZ camp that you've heard, Peter?
Any what?
News about the ETN.
Oh, the ETN?
No, the New Zealand team. No, we haven't heard anything.
No, but it's still a worry, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't drop a boat, even whether carbon, glass, or wood. You don't drop a boat 6, 7, 8 meters onto a cradle and not suffer some damage.
Well, we'll see. But, those guys are awfully good at repairing things and taking care of things on the run. So
they are. They have got as good or better a short team of any team in the business, as you well know, Peter, having dealt with all these teams intimately with Harkin blocks and so on, and winches. What do you have on, while we got you, what do you have on these boats in terms of equipment that's Harcooney equipment?
Well, Hold it. We got noise in the background. Oh, winches, blocks, and lots of hydraulics.
Winches, blocks, and Harkin hydraulics. Okay.
Yeah, lots of hydraulics.
Well, say hi to the Otorowskis because they're checking in from aboard Radiant, John Heel's boat. The Otorowskis are on Radiant. There they are. So say hi to them. We've lost your picture, but we'll go to the comments now. So, okay, thank you, Claire, Vice Commodore Harrington, for sorting us out as we see a start coming up here. Now, looks like plenty of breeze. Start coming up in 2 minutes 23. We're about to see entry here from the port end of the USA boat. So let's refocus our attention now. Otorowski's on Radiant, John Heal's boat, and that other big, beautiful boat we saw. Whisper is out there, is Hap Faust's boat. Hap, the co-chair, along with Doug DeVos of New York Yacht Club's American Magic, speaking of which, the Americans have entered. Racing against the Swiss coming in on starboard, 1:50 to go. And we've got racing more or less, delayed a little bit, but more or less on time. We're delayed only about 9 minutes. Let's hear a little bit from, yeah, those are J1s or J2s, I'm not sure.
Light winds, also they're mixing up the breeze.
As the experts have disagreed on my slide that I showed you a minute ago, not quite full hoist jibs.
American Magic there, you cannot build in there in that light air fully.
American Magic had on too small a jib yesterday by some reports, and that's why they fell off the foils pre-start, but despite having a smaller jib on, they still were darn quick.
20 for the start.
Catching up to the Brits, almost catching up to the Brits in the finish.
They need, what, 20-something knots to actually lift.
I'll just have to roll the boat around here and actually start heading back towards the start line, try and actually foil on starboard tack.
Coming up on 30 seconds now, and the Lingy have fallen off the foils.
That's game over.
Yeah, old school, back the jib.
Back the jib.
American Magic now, time on distance basically for a start.
There is the Lingy way out here in the lower right corner. American Magic are foiling with 18, 17 seconds. They're coming in from above the starting line, foiling.
Counting down to a start. It's all good at this point for American Magic, not so for Lingy Red Bull Racing.
Have a great crowd aboard Radiant, Chris Otorowski saying we'll be happy. Those of you on Radiant supporting
Restart penalty Swiss.
And there's Richard Slater saying penalty to the Swiss for being on the OCS. That's on course side. That means what we used to say in PMS before the women's movement. We couldn't say that anymore for premature start. OCS, on course side of the starting line. On course side, OCS, and until they get back over here, they're technically not over the middle of the line. They're technically over an extension of the line, and the judges and umpires still call that OCS. But away American Magic goes as the Swiss. We saw this movie yesterday with American Magic displacing in the water and the Brits sailing away to a 700-meter lead before American Magic got going. Now they're foiling. Here they go, rounding the starboard end of the line and getting a start. How far? What's the delta? Come on, show us a delta here, ladies and gentlemen of the TV crew. In the control room, 550 meters. The delta more or less at the start. Better write that down. I don't know what that is in time, if anybody got that.
Let's go on to chase zero. Peter, you got to say, despite getting off the fours.
AM just texted that they are on. Yeah, okay, that's an old comment. Dance of the money munching carbon fiber monsters, Ed Worley saying. Yeah, hello, good morning, Ed, down in SoCal. This is the problem with these boats. It's the problem with this venue, too. I mean, the venue, everybody who's ever lived or sailed in the Med knows that it gets progressively lighter from here on out, September, October. Crutonic to be calling a Lingy over when they haven't even started. Well, that's the rules, Alex Hayworth. The rules are that for technical, I won't go into it, but for umpiring and judging, if the boat is over an extension of the line or the middle of the line, It's called OCS technically by the judges and the umpires. American Magic with a 600-meter lead. Both boats now foiling up leg one. Good morning to everybody. Welcome to our watch party, show number 741. Back by popular demand after so many people have enjoyed what we did last weekend, the 4 preliminary race days, and then yesterday for day one of the round robin one. So I dragged my sorry you-know-what out of bed this morning again at 4 o'clock and went to hair and makeup, and very happy to do this. Feel good. Alistair is right. If you fall off the foils 2 minutes before that start, you've lost. Well, probably. Because you got to remember, everybody, James Appel, you got to remember as well that in the past, in Auckland last time, we saw these boats where somebody'd get out to a kilometer or kilometer and a half lead, and then the other boat would fall, or that boat would fall off the foils, the leader would, and then the boat would catch up from behind. What's Shirley saying? She ain't saying much at the moment.
Coming into the top gate for the first time, an American Magic leading a Lingy Red Bull Racing. Everything somewhat on a
yeah, the poor announcer's trying to keep this interesting. At least we've got comments. At least we've got FOSI here in various parts of the world. Oh, we can try to keep it interesting, even though American Magic through the gate now, about a half a leg ahead. Order of magnitude.
Fantastic shot of the foil there on the windward side of American Magic. Those foils
I had a,
really working
thanks
hard.
to one of our FOSI, in fact, he's on here right now, thanks to one of you sent me the AIS of what is apparently Sir Jim Ratcliffe's super yacht headed from Mallorca up to Barcelona. So he's checking in after the Brits had their win yesterday. These boats are really making a lot of noise, Ed Worley is saying. You can hear that noise.
Have to build a little bit of speed here to pull this tap off.
And I hope that's really noise coming off the boats, Ed. I believe it is, and not a sound loop. Just a sound loop that the audio guy in the booth is using to make it sound like these boats are whistling through the wind. Graham, your thoughts so far?
I think it's a done deal already. If America can stay on its foils, when we know they're consistent.
Yeah, well, for sure, if they stay on their foils. But American Magic's got the bigger jib up, whether that's a number 2 or a code 2 or a code 1, I'm not sure. As I said, the experts have, and to be fair, teams call them different things. If it's a full hoist jib, I think that's technically a code 1, and I think what we're seeing here on these boats are code 2s. They're not quite full hoist jibs, but American Magic yesterday had a 3 on, I think, or had a smaller jib on. There's a good look at the hoist. You can see it doesn't go all the way up to the eye point, to the head there. 127 Delta at the top mark. Chris Exley, thank you, sir. Alex Hayworth, Am Magic is a leeway making machine downwind and gains everywhere all the time downhill. Brits are pretty quick downwind too. Okay, we'll write a 1:27 in as the delta, the difference. The Americans about a kilometer, 950 meters ahead of the Swiss. Am Magic slides sideways downwind like NASCAR in a corner. Jimmy Buffett Day. Nice shirt, Graham.
Thank you.
Where's your guitar? I should have brought the guitar in here. We could be singing Margaritaville or something.
I've got my guitars upstairs along with my banjo, and opposite we've got like a music room.
I didn't know you were a banjo player. I knew you played the guitar. Banjo?
Oh, no, I am not a banjo player.
5-string?
Yeah, 5-string.
Okay, well, I play a 4-string. I play a plectrum, which is, you know, the big long-necked old 4-stringer that they played in New Orleans for Dixieland Jazz. I also have an Irish tenor banjo, or I used to until it got stolen. And now I have a little banjo ukulele because it's easy to carry around. J. Frederick Bland is saying banjos are illegal in most countries, as are accordions and bagpipes.
Yeah.
Huh?
Bagpipes are definitely up here. We don't bother with a bagpipe. We play the fiddle, which is just as bad in some cases.
Well, if a fiddle player is bad, then it's bad. But a good fiddle player is a lot of fun. I've done a fair bit of playing with fiddlers in kind of a bluegrass band back in my home town of Ann Arbor, Michigan.
In Shetland, it's part of the collector. What do you call it? The I can't say the word now. Part, you know, when the school they have to teach in the music, they have to teach the fiddle.
The fiddle.
Yeah. Curriculum.
Curriculum. The school curriculum. Part of the curriculum is to teach the fiddle.
Yeah.
Leg 2 of 6 is American Magic coming into the bottom gate. It's a 6-leg course. And we'll see what that delta is. But needless to say, a big lead. As if you're just joining us, hello, Clay Embley. I think he's been on, but Gordon Smith checking in from Copenhagen. Hi, Gordon. Good afternoon to you, sir, over there in Denmark, where it is 14:36 CET, Central European Time, 2:36 p.m., 05:36 here in San Francisco. The Kiwis are up late. It's 36 minutes after midnight there in Auckland. The Aussies that have joined us, it's in Sydney, Melbourne. It's just 10:36 at night, 22:36. As here come the Swiss into the bottom gate. The announcers again trying to keep it interesting. We'll see if Alinghi is caught up at all. They're going to be north of a minute delta still. Not a minute 27 though. Well, maybe. They still got a ways to go. They got a jibe. You didn't plan that entry into the gate very well, did you, boys? They did not do that very well. Criticism of their... Oh, no! I get, okay, so now we know. I take it back. They were trying desperately to stay on the foils. That's why they went so low. They went so low before jibing so that they could jibe and come out hot, come out high, but they fell off the foils nonetheless. And that is, you know, there was criticism yesterday I saw from the teams that there was a lot less wind down at the start area, the western end of the track. It's an easterly, a southeasterly. There was a lot less wind down at the start area than up at the top end of the track, as you now see. They've fallen off the foils again on Red Bull, on Alinghi Red Bull Racing. And just you see the delta going up exponentially almost. Not quite. That's a bit of an overstatement. Yeah, Chris Fury, a gentleman, is one who cannot play the banjo. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm playing the banjo now for Red Bull in my head. Parked up. Here they are doing that jibe relatively late on that leg. They must have known it was very light. And it's not so much the wind speed as it is the boat speed.
On that exit of that jibe, traveller up around the ears, but quite flat, and you can see the depth there now in the rig.
Depth in the mainsails are trying to power the rig up. Deliverance. Very marginal conditions at the bottom gate. Krasimir is agreeing. Yes, indeed. Indeed.
American Magic, and the game can change.
Yeah, Phil Laughlin's reminding us that Dennis actually had Jimmy Buffett. This is Jimmy Buffett Day. That's why Graham's got his nice Jimmy Buffett shirt on. Dennis had Buffett write a fight song for the '87 Cup called Take It Back. J. Frederick Bland, it'd be a shame if Light Air and Pre-Start Foiling Falls decided who the challenger was, well, let alone the Cup winner. Gets lighter the later we go in the year. Wonderful venue, Barcelona. Watch out for the pickpockets, and of course, it can happen in any big city in the world, but Barcelona, Marseille, Valencia. You know, I lived in Spain. Leslie, Meg, and I lived in Valencia for almost 10 years. Yeah, minute 38 Delta. Go ahead, Graham.
Look at the state of that.
Say again.
Look at the state of that. Oh, wait a minute. We've got a bowman on the front of Alinghi.
What was he doing?
I don't know, but it's nice to see one.
Big Traveler-E's are trying anything to get going. They maybe went up to help shape the jib or something, or check to see if they checking on something perhaps. What was it, Chris Fury, a minute? American Magic off the foils. Okay, so you'll ask, well, what happens? Does Ian Murray call the racing off if this happens? No. Minute 38, so American Magic actually gained on that second leg. So both boats off the foils now. Wonderful racing in Barcelona. I mean, we have to run our sport in venues that are reliably windy, and as Julia likes to say, iconically beautiful, like San Francisco Bay. Okay, Auckland is reliably windy, and they have a sea breeze.
But the foil arm and the wings are pretty well tucked. Right
are they back on their foils, or is this a replay?
Reduce that riding moment so that the boat can power up.
I guess this is live, so they're back on their foils, American Magic. But, I mean, Auckland, well, they had some problems. It was a little light a couple of those days.
The axis to 130.
There's Melanie Roberts, the course communicator for Ian Murray, the race committee. She is a San Diegan, I'm told yesterday. Originally, she's an American. I knew that. I thought she was from up here, but apparently originally from San Diego Yacht Club. And American Magic back on their foils, clearly.
Just not getting enough lift.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Off the foil, and when you're sailing in these light air conditions.
Oh, that's a replay.
Take more lift, you get more riding moment. You don't want to roll to windward and touch the windward side.
That's a replay.
That delicate balance between.
There it is. More than a click and a half. 1,600 meters, the Delta. Both boats displacing now. Now American Magic is semi-foiling. Now they're foiling as they come into the top gate. They've changed, you heard Melanie Roberts say they've changed the course axis. I think, what'd she say, 138? One something. Anybody catch the course axis?
American Magic completing the halfway mark of race number 5.
Halfway mark, 3 legs of 6. Now see if they can stay on the foils as they bear away around the upwind port end of that gate. Now again, you say, well, what happens if both boats fall off their foils, or if the winds drop below 6.5 knots? Nothing. They keep racing, as we saw in Auckland. The rules have stayed the same. What does come into play is a leg time limit, per leg time limit, and I think there's an overall race time limit too. I'm not 100% sure. One of you will probably know. K. Larry 123 video. Good morning from Lower Manhattan. Great yacht racing not, says the president of Australian Sailing, Alistair Murray. Imagine if this race gets abandoned, Krasimir said. Claire thinks, Vice Commodore Harrington thinks that the guy that went up on the bow of the Swiss boat was backwinding the jib, trying to help get the bow around, I guess, onto the other tack. Is that right? He was paddling it, Worley says. Rick Bano, he was up catching some rays. Snail crawl to the finish, J. Frederick Bland. This is really a disappointing example of our beloved sport, Jonathan Frank, the 777 pilot. Where did you say you were, John? Are you in London? He is a pilot for American, left seat. Little Snoopy graphic on the American Magic rudder, yeah. 138, yeah, was the course axis, so I did have that right. Thanks, Ed Worley. American Magic boat just looks so slick. It's like a black bullet. Well, it's low freeboard. It is scow-like on the front end. Hey, you wanted monohulls? Ha ha, Larry is saying. Oh, man. Well, Olingi's back on the foils, doing 23 knots. Yeah, Patrizio Bertelli said, when he was challenger of record last time down in Auckland to the Kiwis, he said, I want monohulls. Well, they got monohulls, foiling monohulls, as the American boat goes through a jibe. Commodore Harrington, how was your flight across the pond last night? You've obviously arrived safe and sound, and are you out on the water as well, or are you in the team base?
Huge exit angle there. You see the stall of the woolies on the leeward side.
Now, the Swiss were penalized there, but obviously they're so far behind as American Magic comes off the foils.
All about getting back on the foils here for both teams.
This is, as the Germans would say, a Scheisse show. I'm sorry. Mr. Dalton, you should be ashamed of yourself. Julie Aarons will not be pleased with me.
Using his eye to say, where is the wind?
Get that slightly more elevated view by standing up there and having a look, and in these conditions, he just
lots of comments. Oh, Jonathan Frank's in D.C., back to Frankfurt. So he's gone from Houston to Washington, D.C., and now headed to Frankfurt this evening. FRA. Touchdown. Speaking of piloting and airplanes, we have a touchdown, Jonathan Frank, as Krasimir is saying.
I think we've just found the bottom of the range for both boats. Before they touch down, I just
bottom of the range indeed. Claire, Vice Commodore Harrington saying flight was easy but delayed. Just arrived at my apartment in Barcelona. Too late to get out on the water. Well, at least you're there safe and sound. Yeah, clown show. Ed Worley showing the clown tents, the circus tents, as both boats are doing the amazing speed of low teens.
This is the race committee. We are shortening the course to 4 legs. The finish will be at the next leeward gate.
Well, there's your answer. It's going to shorten the course at the end of this current leg that American Magic is on, trying to keep this race intact. Melanie Roberts saying. Stupid racing. In Newport, in the 12-meter era, in San Diego, in the IACC era, if it were light, the minimum was like 5 knots, you still race. And the boats plodded along, but it was tactical and it was close. And you had some dramatic racing. Remember that one of the last races in the Challenger, well, it was the last race in the Challenger Selection Series when the Don Riley and Bill Koch and that gang were way ahead of Dennis Conner. I was with Dennis's team on the chase boat. ESPN had left the air and gone over to watch something else, and the breeze dropped and it shifted, and Dennis came from behind slowly but surely past Bill. This was '95. Past the women's team, Mighty Mary, and went on to win that race and win the defense trials. And then we made the decision. Dennis called me onto the boat, and Tom Wooden, John Marshall, and Dennis and I, Billy Trinkle, were consulting in the back end of the boat. What do we do now? We've won the defense trials, and our boat is clearly slower than the other two American boats. Bill Koch would not give us his boat. We tried to charter it, but for any price, he would not give Dennis the boat. He'd rather see San Diego Yacht Club at that point lose, and then he thought he'd maybe go challenge for it in 2000. That did not eventuate, if that's a word. We did manage to charter John Marshall's boat. Remember the Mermaid? What was that called? Young America. And we paid them, I think, $1 million. For that charter. John Marshall and that team were, put up the Whomper, Lance Burke is saying. Lance, are you back here in the Bay Area? God, this is ugly. Well, American Magic is on foil. They're still foiling, so they will finish. Alinghi are fishing, Krasimir is saying. And long story short, in '95, we, of course, we defended. What's that? What are you waving at us, Graham?
I said they were fishing.
We chartered Young America. That campaign was a little short of cash at the end, so I think I went over the port, got some more money out of the port. Jerry Ladow and I did, the late, great Jerry Ladow. Looks like foil arm failure on American Magic. What's that mean?
And then down again, American Magic.
Foil arm failure, or just that they dropped off the foils? Abracadabra. Now that was another boat. Abracadabra. God help us all, Rick Bannerow is saying. Yeah, this is the final leg. American Magic. That's from the... I mean, the Swiss are so far behind. They're going uphill on this graphic. And American Magic are coming downhill, but they're not even halfway down that leg, and they've fallen off the foils. Brian Prince saying American Magic looks very fast in the ultralight. And the boat may have been fast, but it seemed that most of the other teams undervalued the speed of our female Bayview Yacht Club junior sailors. Your team was very good, Don Riley, in '95. I would have much rather, frankly, seen you go against Russell Coots than us on Dennis Connor's boat. Cod help us all. Graham's cod piece. Show us your cod again, Graham. Is that a cod? What is that?
I think it's a haddock.
A haddock.
I think the cod's the other side.
You got a cod there too? Show us your cod. The Church of Cod there. There you go. You got a bunch of them. One of the great characters in our pool of FOSI. They have 21 minutes to get to the finish before the time limit we were talking about a minute ago, or a few minutes ago. Thank you, Lance Burke, a.k.a. Fog Machine. Yeah, we're talking fish. Gene Berkery. Have I pronounced your name right, Gene? Thank you for joining us again today. Berkery. Eugene X. Berkery II. That's a nice name. Mark Atchison agreeing. Yeah, the women's team in '95, Don, good on you. They were a good team. And there was some, there was a deal late in that series, as several of you will remember, called the three-boat final. And that was not my idea. I was credited with that. That was really Bill Center, the local journalist for the San Diego Union Tribune, who came up with that idea, saying, well, all three boats are so good, let's not eliminate one at this point. And I was with Team Dennis Connor and the GM, Jerry Ladow. We didn't know if the deal was going to happen or not. There was a lot of discussion. John Marshall didn't want to do it because their team looked quick. We were talking fish. This is cod awful. Okay, that pun is cod awful, Rick Bannerow. Right, Graham?
It's the best they can do.
Well, Bannerow's pretty clever. What is going on here?
A bit of a look around as well. Not much foil trimming going on to fly the boat in these conditions yet. Pretty much sign off and go to the pub.
So this deal in '95, so having just said to have the three-boat final, another bowman, who's got somebody up on the bow? Is that on the Swiss?
I've got some numbers from our team of data analysts. They have 1,100 meters to go downwind to the finish line, and when they try and foil, it takes them 5 minutes to do 50 meters downwind. That's not a good ratio. And
okay, well, they're going to run out of time here at this rate. Look at that. Ugh. We're almost parked up. 3 knots is the indication of their boat speed. So in 95, it was Bill Center's idea to do this 3-team deal and put all 3 teams into some kind of a final.
Once the race actually can be started,
And
do meet the criteria.
there was a back and forth. John Marshall's team, Young America, who were leading at the time, they really didn't want to do the deal, and they called it off the night before it actually finally was put on paper, because they had a pretty good lead, and they said, well, if we go into a 3-boat final, we have to go into the final then with a 2-point lead, and the other teams aren't too happy about that. That was the negotiating ploy. And they came back overnight and everybody agreed to it finally, because everybody wanted to keep racing, keep their sponsors happy, have a chance of going. And John Marshall and his team said, well, we go in with a 2-point lead, we can live with that. We think that's enough of an advantage. So I got a call about 4 o'clock in the morning from Jerry Ladow, the late great, who was GM of that team for Dennis, and said, coffee up, meet us at the Bill Koch base. We're going to go over to their base, and you, Tom, have been nominated to write up the deal. No one had actually written it up. It was just kind of a paragraph, bullet points of what the deal might be. Well, it was simple. John Marshall goes in with two wins, their team. And the other team, let's see, I think, Dawn, your team was going in with 1 point and Dennis was going in with 0. Is that how that worked? I can't remember. So we get there and everybody's gas bagging. Meanwhile, I've got my computer in my usual style. I start. They're going 8 knots. They're a quarter of the way left in that leg. So I start, while everybody's talking, I start typing on the computer, and finally I say, excuse me, we got to get out on the race course to watch this race. Got to make a decision here. Let me read this. So I read it, and everybody said, that's about it. That's good. Tom, buff it up, and then we'll all sign it, print it, sign it. And they did, and then Jerry Ladow and I were at that meeting representing Dennis. We went out to the race course on Bill Koch's tender. What was that? They had a big, beautiful, low freeboard. It was a Harrisoff something, wasn't it? No, it was a, I'll think of what it was. Don will know. Beautiful boat that Bill Koch owned. And we hid down in the bottom of that boat so nobody could see us going out to the race course. And that worked until we got to Betsy, which was Dennis's tender, and we climbed off of that. It was a Hinckley. It was a big, beautiful Hinckley now, it comes to me. And Jerry and I climbed off that boat up onto Betsy, that big catamaran tender of Dennis's, and ESPN was there with their cameras, and Gary Jobson was saying, oh, look at this. What's going on? And I don't want to lose track of this race. There are the Americans way out here. They're going to jibe now and head, they hope, to the finish line, although they're kind of reaching back and forth the track. And long story short, we climbed on the boat. Dawn's team, Bill Koch's team, went on to win that race, but they didn't know that this was in the semis. And they thought if they won the race, they were going forward and knocking Dennis out of the box. And we knew, and Dennis, we told Dennis, of course, that we'd done the deal, signed the deal. But Bill Koch's team, for whatever reason, didn't tell the women on the boat that we'd done such a deal. So they won the race. We're celebrating afterwards that they'd won the race and knocked Dennis out of the box, and they'd gone forward. When Gary Jobson climbed onto the back end of the boat, as Don will well remember, and say, hey, by the way, congratulations, but this didn't count because they did a deal before the race, and the team were not amused. They were not amused. Here they come.
Closer to the finish line.
It's a bit more stressful than it needed to be,
And they are across, and first points for American.
Jody Shields, this is the most exciting thing I've seen since opening an envelope full of confetti. I wasn't sure what was in that envelope.
most exciting finish of the regatta thus far, but a point is a point, and it doesn't matter how you get there, Shirley. You just got to get your bow over the line at the end of the day.
You can laugh, everybody, and Glenn Ashby. I don't blame him. I'm trying to make something out of this for the commentators. The sad thing, as you all know, is that this is likely to be quite a bit more of this going forward. There's likely to be a lot more of this. Phew! Claire Harrington, our FOSI and esteemed Vice Commodore of New York Yacht Club. Lingy on the foils again.
Sailing the boat really nicely, and a little bit unlucky there. Just really in that pre-start, that's what set it up.
Coming down, are they coming downhill now? Yeah, they're on the last leg as well. 6 o'clock in the morning here in San Francisco. 0100 in Auckland. You Kiwis are stalwarts for being up watching all this when your team is not going to race today because of the damage to their boat when the crane failed. Apparently a power outage. 6 o'clock here. It's now 1500, 3 o'clock in Barcelona. Graham, what do you think of all this?
We are witnessing the dance macabre of the carbon butterfly, aren't we?
We used to call it the what do we call it? The dance of the lead-bottomed money, lead-bellied money grabber, money something. I can't remember what we call it when they were 12s, the 12-pounders. We thought those boats were bad because they, in light air and any seaway, they kind of, Perhaps the worst yacht race I've seen. Yawn. Good night, Mr. President. Alistair Murray, President of Australian Sailing, is headed to bed in Sydney. It's 2300 tonight. The Money Gobblers. Thank you, Ed Worley. Alinghi still foiling. There is no second. Alex Hayworth, there's a stat, the stat of the day. It's blowing 16 knots in Jeddah. Oh, Alex, that's the comment of the day for sure. This is a four-leg, if you're just joining us, they shortened it to 4 legs to keep the race within the overall time limit. These guys, the Swiss, fell off their foils pre-start, and American Magic were basically a kilometer ahead. Yeah, 12 to 18 knots in Buzzards Bay. Well, this time of year, it's breezy in Buzzards Bay. Fog Machine was sailing there. Are you back now, Lance Burke, a.k.a. Fog Machine? Are you back here in the Bay Area? You were sailing there last weekend, right?
Race 5 in the Louis Vuitton Cup and a 2 minutes and 58-second win to...
Yeah, okay, well, there's a stat for you. The biggest delta so far, but why would you count it? Other than with an asterisk. There's the pre-start, and then, of course, they fell off the foils. And hey, if you've not bought the ESPN Plus package here in the U.S., that's what we're showing here. I don't want to go to it. I can do it for news value and for the chat. But ESPN Plus is only $11 a month, $10.99 here in the States. We're the only country. We're the only country that is where the live coverage is behind a paywall. I'm having signed up to ESPN Plus, as did Julia upstairs, and I know any number of others of you. I'm pleasantly surprised by how much the content, how much of, say, the U.S. Open tennis is on there, and I actually watched a college football game last night here in the studio while I was preparing the slides for this morning's show. There is a lot of content on ESPN Plus, which is their streaming service, and I can get it on our cable system, which is Comcast Xfinity. I can get it. I've got another computer here down below that I have as just a backup. It's down here below. You can't really see it. In case I need to go to that instead of watching the cable. That's just as a backup. But ESPN Plus is a pleasant surprise, and of course that's the whole purpose of doing this, is they promote it and try to get people to go on and then keep paying $11 a month. It's less than that if you take a 12-month contract. And
Tommy certainly kept it interesting for us here in the commentary booth. Thanks, mate. It was certainly not the most dramatic of finishes.
And what a great guy Glenn Ashby is, trying to keep it interesting for everybody. Talking to Tommy Slingsby on the boat. This fellow Aussie.
Yeah, those guys copped a whipping. You would think in
now
the
American.
light airs they might get a bit of a reprieve, but I can hear them going back over here in first class behind me and on the lay-down seats, but they are working their arse off even in this.
Calling the cyclers first class on the lay-down seats. There is Chris Odorowski, Commodore Odorowski, past Commodore of Seattle Yacht Club and the esteemed past Commodore of the Cruising Club of America, a New York Yacht Club stalwart, a member here of the Beach Street Yacht Club here in San Francisco. Good afternoon to you, Chris, in Barcelona on Whisper. Are you on Whisper, or are which boat are you on? I've forgotten. You're muted. Your audio's off. Click, click, click till you find the mute button. It's hard to see on the iPad out there and the.
But yeah, some good learning, and I mean tomorrow it's another day, and a lot of races to go, so we're looking forward to it.
I know I hate to say this right at the beginning of the regatta, but you're 0-2.
He's working on it. Another paid advertisement for live streaming, Pedro Foiling Sailor is saying. Well, he's on Radiant. Chris Odorowski is. Radiant is John Heal's boat. There we go. I think I hear audio coming from you now, Chris.
All right, we'll see them on. We got a big watch party going here on Radiant.
Nice. Does he pronounce his name H-E-L-E? Does he pronounce that Chris Heel? Heel. Can you turn that sideways and give us a horizontal view? Give us a horizontal. There you go. We get a landscape and we see a better. If you can show us around, we don't. Anybody doesn't mind on the boat being live. There's a wave.
On Sailing Illustrated. We're aboard Radiant.
Hello, everybody.
With, John and Katrina and about 1,000 of their friends and daughters and sons and everybody.
What a great group.
Tom Hutt right there.
A great group of New York Yacht Club supporters out there on Radiant, and Claire Harrington has arrived. Chris, you can tell everybody there, the Vice Commodore sends her regards. She's on shore at her apartment. She's also joined us here.
Physically demanding. We hope to show her the bottom end of a couple beer glasses later tonight.
She said she had a delayed but good flight, so she didn't make it out on the water in time. But nice to see you all there. I know that Hap Faust's big boat is out there as well. And nice to see such a big group of New York Yacht Club supporters there. A nice win for your team, albeit our team. I'm cheering for them as well, as you know, Chris. Albeit a strange yacht race.
Some of the wins have to be ugly, but we'll take them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you have to take
John. John is our wonderful host here, and Katrina right there.
Hi, John. Thank you for hosting the Odorowskis and the rest of the gang. We've been admiring your boat in the background of the television coverage. Appreciate it very much. John, what do you think so far of the racing?
I'm not a big numbers guy. When I first got the phone call.
Well, this is a very tough race today, I think. You heard the talk about it. And it was interesting when the American Masters decided to do it the old-fashioned way and go displacement sailing. But, they're still doing 9 to 10 knots downwind, which is pretty good in any boat. So I think we're too used to going 25 knots now when we think 9 knots is boring. So.
Yeah, well, you had there's Sean Odorowski right next to you there. I know you have to take heart. Hi, Sean. You have to take heart, John, Sean, and the rest of you, with yesterday's race, even though looks like they had too small a jib up at the start. They were thinking a little more breeze up the track, I think, and the jib was a little small to my eye. They fell off the foils pre-start, but you have to be uplifted a bit by the fact that they came from so far behind, 700 meters plus behind up that first leg to almost, there'd been a little more runway, they might have caught up to and passed the Brits, right?
Yeah, I think it was a 14-second delta, something like that. It's not much.
I think the team feels they got a good boat, but now you got to race it and get starts. And what I'm amazed actually is the dirt, the bad air these boats give off, and the quite more than other boats, I think. So that's I think how Lingy got behind today was they got in the dirt. So really to keep clear air in these boats.
Yeah, I think especially in the light air there
you have it, Tom.
Say again, Chris.
Say again.
Just saying, there you have it from the captain.
Okay, well that's great. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sean and Chris Otorowski and the rest of the gang there on Radiant. Big, beautiful boat out there. One of two big New York Yacht Club boats. There'll be more showing up to support American Magic and their team. Thank you, Chris. We'll get back to you as we're looking now at the television coverage, the big shot of the marina, Porto Olimpico and Port Vel. Those two marinas there on the western end of the Mediterranean. But I was just saying that, they had to be heartened by that result yesterday when you consider that they were so far behind after falling off the foils and then closing up almost to within what Chris Otorowski said was 14 seconds, the delta at the finish. So it was 100-something meters, 150 meters, maybe a little less. And
very, very close. Yeah, it's very close.
Oh, you're still there, Chris. Yeah, it was quite close. And again, you got to be heartened by that. But as John Heel just said, it's amazing the big vortex coming off the back of these sails, light air, heavy air, otherwise. But in the heavy air, that vortex, that tornado of disturbed air, with these big, tall rigs moving through the air mass quickly, that vortex in heavier air gets blown kind of back together and cleaned up more quickly than it does if you are in this light stuff. There, that thing sits there kind of as a whirling dervish in the middle of the track and downhill, and can affect much further aft of a boat, Chris, than we're used to in our normal typical yacht racing.
Absolutely. You might notice here, Tom, that John has retrofitted his boat with a big screen TV right on the bridge deck and a nice Sonos speaker so we can all hear the action.
Nice stuff. Well, that's you got the catbird seat there, Commodore Otorowski, better known as Otto to his friends throughout the yacht racing world. I have regards from Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin to all of you, who is joining us here at the Stag Cruise in a month. He is Secretary General of the International Maxi Association, as you know, and he's going to be our keynote speaker. If you want to come back to Stag, you're going to stay over there the whole time, Otto, or are you coming back and forth?
Right now, we're planning staying here the whole time, but who knows?
Okay, well, if you change your mind, let us know. Come on down and join us at Stag Cruise here at the end of September. Now, Krasimir is, let's refocus, if we can, on the racing. Thanks, Otto. It's pretty light. They've got the start clock going, 7 minutes 30, as they're trying to get that rolling boxcar average. Ian Murray, who's the race director, the superb race director, I should say, trying to get that going. And there's got to be enough wind, at least 6.5 knots average over 5 knots, a rolling average over 5 minutes, rather, 6.5 knots. And it looks pretty light at the moment. I'm going to mute Otto here.
With his own team, and this time on paper anyway, it should look better than ever. They're well resourced by Ratcliffe,
He's not there.
the collaboration of Mercedes, the F1 team, and have a stellar lineup of sailors. They have all the ingredients, but it's not so straightforward in the America's Cup to pull it all together at the right time.
As we see,
I changed from.
you've got a huge team behind the scenes, and hello everybody there. Hello Robbie Wilson, who's a great mate, and himself behind the scenes. There's definitely a lot of people, so it is a big group. Okay, so we're about 8 minutes to go for an official start, and that's what the most important thing is. 8 minutes and there to go before they have to cross the line to make it an official race.
Is this a good thing or a bad thing for Ineos to have to
There, I finally figured out how to mute one. I don't use Zoom very often, but I managed to figure out how to mute. I did it, Otto. I muted you here at this end, so you don't have to push the button. Thank you. But I want to be able to talk to Graham or anybody else. I don't know who else is on the Zoom here. We haven't looked for a second. Oh, there is Lance Burke is on. Lance, welcome to you, sir. Are you back here in the Bay Area now? Lance, I don't know if you can hear us.
Every day is a school day. They're also getting to observe the racetrack in another condition in race.
But we call Lance Amadeus due to his haircut. You can see there in the upper right corner. There's Chris Otorowski's iPad down there in the center, and there is Graham Sweeney in Scotland and Yell and Shetlands up there in the upper left corner. And let's see if we can get you on there, Graham. Go ahead and talk, Graham.
Well, what's the next race going to be like, Tom? What do you
It's
reckon?
going to be light. Going to be light.
Is it going to be a race? One boat race?
You know, as I said at the top of the show an hour and 15 minutes ago, it looked like
in San Francisco that really was involved in the biggest comeback the sport has ever seen.
Okay, they're talking about San Francisco here, 2013. See that shot? That's the Olympic Village from 1992. Those structures, or one of those structures, I guess. That's Porto Olimpico behind it there. And we ran the match racing right off that breakwater in the 92 Olympics. I was the American judge on the Olympic panel, the jury in 92, and also did umpiring. And the athletes would come down.
Can you hear me, Tom?
Yeah, I can, Lance. We'll get back to you in a sec. The athletes came down from the village when they weren't involved in their own competitions and watched the yacht racing taking place right off, at least the match racing, right off that breakwater. So it was kind of a cool event. One leg next race is Alan Long's prediction. Buster Pike. Hello, Buster. Long time. Where are you, Buster? Are you in Colorado, or where are you situated these days? What's the time limit for a boat to start after the start time? Good question, and I don't know the answer to that. There may not be a time limit for a start after the time limit in this particular match racing. I don't know that, and we'll see if any of the FOSI do. Lance Burke, welcome to the Zoom here. Where are you?
Hey, Tom, I'm sitting on a deck out here in Scituate, Massachusetts today. We sailed over from Martha's Vineyard yesterday through Woods Hole, and boy, we had a lot more wind than they have over there in Barcelona.
Yeah, well, I can see there's a bit of wind there in the windmill behind you, and that I guess you're doing some power generation up there in Massachusetts. Scituate, Mass. Okay, well, enjoy the show. Get better lighting on your face. You got a lot of light behind you, but we can see your hair well. That's a good shot to highlight your hair, Lance Burke.
Let's see if I can convince Zoom to redo my.
I'll leave that to you. But that's Lance Burke. And mute yourself, Lance, when you're not talking, please. Lance Burke in Scituate, Mass. He's a senior Sirius St. Francis Yacht Club member here. Does a lot of racing and races with our past Commodore on board that famous yacht that belonged to a rocker, a rock and roll guy who was part of the here, I'm sorry, I'm listening and talking. That we've got the head of the design team who was with Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli last time is now the head of the Brit design team.
Have sails, but in both areas we deal with complex mechanical systems, hydraulic systems, electronic systems. A Formula One car is aerodynamically
well,
complex.
I forget his name at the moment. Some of you will know. Somebody will help me remember his name.
So there's a huge amount of knowledge in the Formula One world that we can use.
Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Is the second time that
is the name of this famous. That's not Adrian Newey, Rick Bannerow. That's not Adrian. That's somebody else.
From the learnings from the first round.
Jonathan Shore is checking in from Newport, Rhode Island. He says he believes that Hap Faust's boat Whisper, and that wasn't the boat that the Outerowskis were on. They were on John Heal's boat, which is called Radiant. I better make notes of all this so that my old brain doesn't forget it. Radiant, John Heal, H-E-L-E.
More or less flat water conditions.
And then Hap Faust, who's co-chair with Doug DeVos. His big yacht there is called Whisper, which Jonathan Shore is telling us is a Fontaine. What's this guy's name? I've forgotten his name. He was with Luna Rossa Pradaprelli last time. He's jumped over. He got hired away by the Brits. Is their technical director this time.
With this team, and even more so for me as the chief designer of this team, for me that's the holy grail of yacht design. So after that, I can't stop.
Somebody help me. Come on, guys and gals. Grant, do you remember his name?
No, I don't.
Somebody Google it and sue the technical director, the chief designer is for Ineos. Britannia.
Live pictures of Ineos Britannia and their chase boat.
Pretty soft looking there.
Discussing what's going on.
Welcome to all of you. If you're just tuning in at 6:21 in the morning here in San Francisco, it is in Barcelona. It is 22 minutes after 3 in the afternoon, 15:22. As we're waiting for some breeze, that first race between the Americans and the Swiss fell off their foils. We saw that movie yesterday when the Americans fell off their foils pre-start. Yeah, Martin Fisher. Thank you, Chris. Actually, well done.
Fisher.
Yeah, Martin Fisher. Thank you, sir. So they fell off the foils, that is the Swiss, before the start of their race. The Americans were better part of a leg ahead before the Swiss got going. And then the Americans fell off their foils and the Swiss back on, and it was one of those up and down affairs, no pun intended. And what was the final delta? 2 minutes 58. I think that's fair to say that's the largest delta so far of the racing we've seen last weekend in the preliminary regatta, and then yesterday and today in round robin 1, this being race 2, race day 2 of round robin 1. Everybody's taking a break, going and getting more coffee as we're awaiting some action on the race course for this next race between the Brits and New Zealand. And of course, New Zealand's not out there because their boat suffered damage when the crane failed. Apparently a power failure, according to some hot new news that we got here from one of our FOSI early in this show. Alex Hayworth, I think, shared that with us. So this will be a I don't know what you call it. It's a NZ are so good they can still win from the shed, Alex Hayworth is saying. So this is a, I don't know what you call this, but besides boring. They're going to do some replay now on the broadcast. They got to do something to keep it interesting. The Brits now are going to get towed onto their foils, it looks like. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Could be a lot of this, folks, going forward. You pick a venue like Barcelona. Okay, Gordon Smith is going to say, well, you had light air in lots of venues. Yes, you did, but this is a famously light air venue in September and October. It's sort of late August, obviously, but it tapers off, as anybody knows, a ghost match. I think we've coined a new phrase, Andy Cox. Hello, Andy. Are you in Bermuda? Where are you, Andy? A ghost match. A one boat against a ghost. The Brits against the Kiwis not fronting up, and the Brits will be awarded the match. I guess they have to start in order to get the point. They don't get a point. It doesn't even count for anything because even if the Kiwis are out there, it does not count in the Challenger standings of the 5 boats racing in the Louis Vuitton Cup, one of which will get knocked out here in this round robin phase. It's a double round robin. This is a replay of round robin 1, match 2 yesterday. Yes, Andy Cox is in BDA, the airport code for Bermuda, which we tend to use on Sailing Illustrated. We use airport codes for towns. AKL, BDA, BCN for Barcelona, SFO for San Francisco, of course. We've got a Sail GP training camp here at the moment with the same conditions as Barcelona. Pete Carrizo, we've learned to pronounce his name yesterday. They should show the replay of dropping off the foils in slow motion for dramatic effect. Chris Exley, so the point IB gets, Ineos Britannia gets for this race has no impact at all. Well, it does. They get a point, but not, it doesn't count. Yeah, it does. It has no impact at all, at least in the Louis Vuitton Cup. I mean, in the kind of in the pecking order, you might, you kind of keep, there'll be a leaderboard somewhere that counts the win-losses against the Kiwis, too, just for bragging rights, if nothing else. There is Alan McGarry from the Royal Canadian Yacht Club saying greetings from Paris, from Paris. Alan is from, well, he was originally back and forth between Toronto and out in Western Canada. Last I knew was co-chair of the Canada's Cup, hosted every other year by the Royal Canadian Yacht Club, match racing event. Alex Saldana, where are you, sir? Alex, who's an American by way of Brazil, South America, was in Europe, last I knew, as the FOSI are checking in from around the world. Alex, who's a soling sailor, among other classes, he's saying, should we bring out the optimists for racing? Ted Ryman, of course, is down in CPT in Cape Town, and Alan is headed to Barcelona on Monday, as they're showing a replay of round robin 1, match 2, the second match from yesterday between the Italians and the Brits. As we are in postponement because there's not enough breeze to get this if it's not enough of an insult to our intelligence collectively here in the yacht racing world, not only are we in a postponement because there's not enough wind, but there's only one boat on the track. That is the Brits, because the Kiwis are back in the shed trying to repair the damage from yesterday. Graham, what are you having a drink of there? You getting some fortification with a something clear?
I believe it's known as Adam's Ale.
Is that a cider? What is that?
No, that's water.
Oh, it is water. Here in San Francisco, if we drink tap water, and we want to order it at the bars, and the people around us, if they're not San Franciscans, we call this hetchy in San Francisco. If you ever want to impress somebody, you walk up to the bar and order a glass of hetchy. At least at St. Francis Yacht Club you can do that, and the bartenders there, Ferdy and co, will give you a glass of tap water, because that's the big reservoir up north of here that the forebears, the forefathers of this town back in the early part of the last century, I think that's what it was, early 1900s, they built this huge reservoir to capture water. So, it's basically Western California, coastal California is a desert, more or less, and it rains, when it rains it pours, and when it doesn't, we don't have any water here in California, at least on the west coast, western coast. And they built that big reservoir called Hetchy, which in good times fills up, and we have plenty of good, tasty water. It's probably as good a water as any civic water in the country. How's that for a fill of time, Graham?
Well, it's not bad going, is it? No. We're sailing on it, and we're drinking it too.
You know what they say? Well, some people don't. Julia upstairs, her late great husband, this famous ship captain Conrad Vedekant, he didn't drink water because he said, when you say, well, Conrad, why don't you drink water? He said, well, you know what fish do in that.
very true.
You know what fish doing that? Luck seems to be on GBR's side at the moment. The Brit living in Cape Town in the Republic of South Africa, Ted Ryman, is saying, as we're watching a replay. Yeah, somebody, one of the WAGs said yesterday, I saw it in the Sailing Anarchy forum, Graham, they said after the damage to the Kiwi boat yesterday, when apparently the power failed, this is what Alex Hayward said an hour and a half ago at the top of this show, apparently the power failed and that crane stopped, and then the crane's default mode when the power came back on was quick down or drop down or whatever it was, and it dropped the boat, depending upon who you believe, 6, 7, 8 meters onto the cradle. So much so that I can go back to that picture. Maybe I go find that picture and show everybody rather than gasbagging about it. Get rid of that audio while we're at it. You can see the cradle on the front of the boat. When the boat came down it knocked the cradle forward. It landed with such impact. They put these ratchet belts on, the tensioning belts, to try to keep the thing from going further forward. They got the high lift in here with a pad under it to lift the bow up, keep the bow stabilized. I've got some pictures if you go look at my Facebook page on the starboard side, somebody got in there and took some pictures and sent them to me. This foil actually hit the foil tip at least hit the hard. And as Grant Dalton said in a couple of interviews, there's those very robust system. They got to take the weight of the yacht foiling out there on the water. So the amount of damage remains to be seen, but you could see a crack up here. In one of the photos I also posted, I think it's still maybe my cover photo on my Facebook page, there's a crack in the keelson here of the yacht somewhere forward, and who knows what there is inside. But they seem pretty optimistic and upbeat, as they would be. And as you've said, Graham, that's probably the best shore team in the business, certainly as good as any of the other teams. We've seen them repair damage before, including when they capsized, when they did ass over tea kettle, when they did the cartwheel in Bermuda. They repaired that overnight and got out racing. Graham?
My take on this is slightly different. My experience with cranes, most of the cranes are hydraulic, not mechanical. So it would be a pump that would fail rather than anything else. And from what I've seen in the pictures, I think the hawser has parted, because you've only got, if you look at the hook, it only has one turn through it. And I would have thought with the weight that has to carry would have at least 2 or 3. But size of the block, it'd probably be 2. But if it's a pump that runs hydro, surely it would hold itself until the pressure was released, and unless it was catastrophically released through one of the pipes, or that was to the pump, it wouldn't just drop it.
I hear you. Good point.
But there's also another point. Like, why was the cradle not braced? Because I know it may have caused more damage coming down on a braced cradle, but most cradles need bracing across diagonally, and usually done with chains or with wire or with struts. And the struts that were on it are just not feeble. So there's a lot to be questioned here.
Interesting points. Thank you for that. Well, regardless, they did drop that boat somewhere, some way, somehow into the cradle, and there's got to be some damage forward. Sounds like they are not going to race in the rest of the round robin 1. Remember, this is a double round robin. The Kiwis racing each of the other 5 teams twice in the double round robin. So we shall see how that all plays out. I'll go back and we'll go watch the TV here for a second. They're still in replay, obviously. And a replay from yesterday's match 2 of race day 1. They're counting the matches going forward. So yesterday were matches 1, 2, 3, and 4. Today are matches 5, 6, 7, and 8, which I guess is okay. I guess that's okay. Mike Mahoney, good morning, Mike. Who's here in the Bay Area. The crack heard around the world. Well, that was one thing. I was saying a minute ago. The other thing that was said was that the crane in Spain stays mainly in the campaign. There was a variation or two of that on Sailing Anarchy, and then others were posting that. The crack heard around the world. Yeah, apparently it made a hell of a big noise. Grant Dalton saying that when he came in from his office, he heard it. He was in his office, and then he came out from his office into the yard and gave an interview pretty quickly. I admire him and his team. I mean, they put a notice out. They didn't hide. They didn't rub their hands. They put a notice out right away saying, yep, we had a problem here. The crane failed, and we dropped the boat hard onto the cradle. And then he came out and elaborated and said, well, may have been as much as 8 meters. You know, whether it's 20 feet or 30 feet, that's still a hell of a drop from up in the air onto the front, at least, of the cradle. Maybe not that far in the back. I don't know. Dalton's house, Stingray. If Julia were here, she'd wave her finger at you. Dalton's big crack. Julia Aarons will like that. Julia Aarons will really like that for a number of reasons. Graham?
Is that why the Irish have never had a boat in the America's Cup? Because they're always in it for the crack.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
I'm part Irish.
Well, Gordon Smith's with you. He said even a motor failure, the cable would not have released suddenly. Yeah, it seems like not. And I had that picture that I posted. Somebody sent me a close-up picture of that big crane block, big steel block that's got the wire. You know, it's a 2-to-1 at least. Crane steel cable down to the pulley, which has the big hook on the bottom of it, which then, as you said, Graham, hooks into normally the straps or the lifting bridle or something. And that apparently swung forward and hit the rig. So when this kind of stuff happens, all of you will know that there are unintended consequences or unknown consequences. Not just Dalton's big crack. Julie is upstairs in the Commodore's suite going, oh my God, Stingray. I don't know what else to say here.
Thank you, Stingray.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the race committee. We are moving the windward gate.
As we're watching, those of you just joining us, we're watching a replay of yesterday's race. In the first race today, we had the obverse, or the reverse of what happened yesterday. American Magic yesterday's, you will know, fell off the foils pre-start, and we're 700 meters behind the Brits. Slowly caught up to within, 14 seconds, I think Commodore Odorowski said when we had him on a few minutes ago. And, 100 meters or so, 100 plus meters at the finish, catching up to the Brits. And the Americans are fast, especially in the light and the lump, I think. Light and flat water, maybe not, they don't have quite as big a speed advantage. And of course, yesterday it was light and lumpy. Flat, not lumpy.
I think yesterday, Tom, that was all they could do. They were so far, the Brits were so far in front, they were playing the safe game by going, playing the angles. And I think American Magic risked it and went deep and actually took a lot of distance out of them at the last.
Well, American Magic has, as you know, Graham, has that capability of going deep downhill. They have a pretty deep VMG with that boat. That seems, and so do the Brits, by the way. They seem to be pretty good downhill as well. Maybe not as quick as American Magic. Fog Machine, Lance Burke saying, I agree that a motor failure shouldn't allow rapid unspooling or power failure. Maybe it was a sheave failure of some sort. I don't know. We're just speculating here now, and you are too, Lance. So we'll see. At some point, I think we'll see that ETNZ comes back with, you know, I think they're pretty straightforward. Grant's very on the up and up. Some would say brutally honest. As we're watching a replay from yesterday's Italian-Brit match, the Italians trailing at this point on leg 5 of 6, trailing by 250 meters. And, of course, the Brits went on to win this. They had a pretty good day yesterday. That was a good win for them. And the French got a win yesterday, too. So those two teams are on 1-0. Jonathan Frank never liked the idea that the Defender, ETNZ, could race and size up the challengers. Yeah, but I have defended that decision in the rules because if you think about it, the teams have all agreed to just build one boat, which I think is stupid for what we're seeing the Kiwis are up against now. I mean, imagine if one of these teams crashes into another team, takes them out of the competition. But be that as it may, for cost-cutting reasons, ostensible cost-cutting reasons, they all agreed to build just one new boat in this cycle. And that is what led to this decision to let the Kiwis race in the rounds robin phase, in this double round robin phase of the Louis Vuitton Cup. So they had some racing experience. They won't race beyond this double round robin. The challengers are off racing by themselves then. And whoever gets knocked out, presumably the French, but maybe not. Maybe it'll be Alinghi, maybe it'll be somebody else. But then the question remains, will that team go tune up the Kiwis, race against the Kiwis? So I can understand why the Kiwis insisted on being able to race in the rounds robin. And since the point, and the challengers came back and said, well, okay, you can race, but we're not going to count the points in our standings, in our leaderboard. And they didn't. And as a result, Graham, you could, as a challenger, be throwing these races if you wanted to.
Yeah.
To the Kiwis. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Baton Rouge observing that the stern section of the cradle has diagonal support. The front of the cradle probably has diagonal support, but also it failed, and that's why the front of the cradle racked. Oh, okay. There's smart people on here.
I would say they were insufficient.
Say again?
I would say that they were definitely insufficient.
The bracing, though.
Yeah.
And the fore and aft bracing, not so much the lateral bracing?
Well, the lateral bracing would stop the legging it out.
Yeah.
So I think it, you know, even down at our club, we insist that the cradles that people have, they diagonally brace them. You know, why wouldn't America's Cup boat do that?
You would think, and maybe there was some bracing, and it got taken off before where that picture was taken. I don't know. I mean, there is the picture again.
I could guarantee that when it was brought over, it was diagonally braced.
Yeah.
From New Zealand. When
it came over on the ship. Stingray's favorite ship, he calls it the fruit boat. The fruit boat. Alex Hayward says there's 4 separate bracing diagonally, and it blew the bolts off. Okay, that's interesting. Don Riley. The problem is the crane broke. The fact that the cradle broke isn't because it was insufficiently strong. It was because the boat was dropped from 20 feet or 20 plus feet. Good point, Don Riley. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter so much about the cradle. It matters about the crane. And who was the crane operator? I wonder if we know that. Graham, any idea about that, or any of the FOSI know about that?
No, it could have been the Scarlet Pimpernel. Who knows?
Scarlet Pimpernel. Maybe somebody was speculating yesterday, maybe his mother was American and his father was Italian, living in. Oh, the conspiracy theories will flow, Graham.
It will indeed.
And John Lammerts Van Buren, who, of course, is a bit of an expert on all things boats and construction and so on, the fact that the cradle broke maybe saved the boat, at least the front end of the boat. It ended up.
That's a factor.
What do you think of that, Graham?
That would definitely be a factor. The fact that it may have like a crumple zone in the car, it would minimise the damage. But damage is damage, and whatever they've got to do now, and they've got to do it fast. So apparently they've cut big holes in the bottom of it. So
yeah, there's the finish of that race from yesterday, as Prada loses by 12 seconds to the Brits. There's the fleet. There we can see both of those big New York boats and a Kiwi support boat. That's today. That's a live shot.
The weather and the entertainment they're providing on their own boats at the moment, as we are still in a wait and see situation for race number 6.
There's a shot at.
An AC37 club further.
Okay, so that's the main hospitality center, the ecumenical, the general AC hospitality center. American Magic has a beautiful hospitality center at their base. The Kiwis is rather more modest, I'm told, reading in some articles. There's Pete Cariso. Maybe if the forward diagonal didn't fail, the damage would have been worse. Yeah, okay. With the brace failing, the impact might have been dampened. Yeah, good point. Mike Mahoney's wondering if the crane operator was AI and it was named Hal. Oh, you guys. It looks pretty light. There's American Magic's team hospitality boat.
We'll just have to wait and see. Another spectator cat.
A cat to Moran.
Supporter. They do things in a big way. Just yesterday, standing outside and the national anthem says, monstrous flag, American flag goes up. Now there's a sign. A tow up for Ineos Britannia. They have passed.
When you have to tow the boat onto the foils, Commodores, ladies and gentlemen, it's a bit much in my book.
Both teams there towing up onto the foils.
Graham, I'm going to check and see if there's anybody else with you here. Lance is there. Lance, we got a better look at you now. You got better lighting on your face. Anything you want to add to this commentary? Oh, you're working on your microphone now. Okay. As we'll go back to the live shot of Ineos being towed onto their foils for this ghost race. I like that. Ghost race.
What's going on and you've just joined us? This is a one-boat race.
A one-boat race, Shirley's calling it. I like ghost race that one of you came up with. Who came up with that? Got to give you credit for that.
For these guys actually, nailing the time.
I should have written that down. Who came up with ghost race? Can you repeat the comment for me? I want to give you credit because that is, we're going to use that going forward because I sadly rather suspect we're going to see more of that. Ghostbusters, who you going to call? Alex Hayworth saying. Okay. Well, there you can see the live shot above, and there are our esteemed co-commentators. Lance, do you have anything to offer here?
Yeah, why don't we, maybe if you look in the chat here in Zoom, I posted a link to a YouTube video that ETNZ has posted about their overnight damage assessment, and maybe we can learn something from it.
Okay. You posted the link in the chat?
In the chat, in the Zoom chat.
In the Zoom chat. Let me think about how I'm going to get to that.
It's in the Zoom window. Just go down to the bottom. There's the little chat.
I know, but
button.
then, okay, I'll try that.
Okay, if you can't do that, I'll send it to you another way.
Well, let me see. Okay, let me just go here. Okay, let's see if there it. Oh, that's not it. There it is.
There it is.
Let's see if I can get some audio up here.
Yeah, may want to start it from the beginning.
I will. Lance.
Okay.
Hey, Lance. We're not in the bar at the yacht club. I'll get some
Not
audio.
too far from it.
I'll get some audio.
Actually really start,
I'm going to start it
digging
from the
deep.
beginning. Here we go. Thank you.
The thing about an America's Cup campaign is, you know, if it can happen, it will at some point. And this is just one of those things.
Pretty big incident under a crane, with the boat landing really hard in the splash. And I mean, all things considered right now, I think things are going about as good as we possibly could have hoped.
We've had the opportunity to get in and survey, you know, as much as we could see, but you know, you never know ultimately what's there until we actually really start digging deep. Probably a lot better than we possibly thought, considering it dropped from the height it did.
We kind of managed to get a secondary crane in, lift the boat again. Yeah, it'll now be kind of back into the shed and really kind of understanding that extent of the damage. But yeah, I think everyone's in quite positive spirits, happy no one's hurt, and just looking forward to trying to figure out a path forward from here.
The object here is to assess it, get into repair, and get the boat out sailing as soon as possible.
No, I think it just shows you how much of a team sport one of these America's Cups is, where you've got, obviously we do a job out on the water, but you've got an active team behind me who's springing into life now to keep the boat in good shape. And yeah, I think some of them seem almost excited by the challenge. So.
You know, it makes you stronger. Hell, I've been through this before, and I know darn well what we're capable of. So 100% back this unit.
You hate to see things happen like this, but yeah, would prefer to be doing it with another team.
We certainly won't be sailing tomorrow, and we'll assess later tonight and then decide how we're going to repair and what length of period of time that will take.
Yeah, thanks. I saw that video. Richard Gladwell sent that to me. I don't remember if I saw that last night before I went to sleep or otherwise, but
match 7.
What do we got
Italy
going here?
entering on court. USA.
Thank you for that, Lance Burke. That link, and you know, they're doing a good job with the PR. It's a little bit of a happy, you know what, horse, you know what, because they have to be. I get that. And here is live coverage again. We're looking to see what's going on. No, they're not towing. They're actually sailing. So apparently the breeze has come up a bit. We're going to watch this ghost race, and that was from Andy Cox in Bermuda. Excuse me, Andy. Thank you for that. 6.5 knots is the minimum, as you heard Shirley Robertson say there. Now, you see what else I've got is we've got day 3 of the Puerto Portals TP52 regatta going on. There's I think that's live coming from the TP52 gang. I don't know if that's a video or if that's live, but they are racing. But we looked in on that yesterday, actually. Platoon Racing having a good regatta regardless. 1-2-4-1-3. Gladiator, who's second good regatta in a row for them, or third even. 3-1-10-5-1. Okay. So again, Lance Burke, thank you for that link.
Do something to the back of the main, and thinking back to Auckland when he swapped sides in every tack.
Then we'll go back to our Zoom call, hopefully. There it is. Thanks, Lance. I can toggle between both of you, the so-called gallery view. There's only 2 of you on here. We had Julia on yesterday. She came on before she's lying in bed upstairs in the Commodore's suite in her apartment. And those beautiful satin sheets. I don't know if you saw that, Lance. It was the others that were on thought that was great. And I have a and pedal down here below me, and I can switch YouTube between gallery view and whoever has talked last. And now you're in speaker view, of course, those of you familiar with Zoom. And if you talk, Graham, your picture will come up.
Okay, right.
And if you talk, your picture will come up, and I don't even have to switch as between the 2 of you.
Oh, Tom, you're an AI wonder.
Well, it's hardly AI. It's just my foot on the pedal down below. But my other 2 hands are they're occupied. My left hand is changing the slides if we're watching slides, and my right hand is with my mouse, and I'm clicking on this screen. There are actually 24 scenes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 4 rows of scenes, different cameras, different picture-in-pictures, different shots, slides that we can use. If you want to join the Zoom, I've just clicked on the Zoom slide, 267-220-6570, the meeting ID, if you want to join Graham and Lance there on the Zoom call, or the cameras, or color bars, or promoting the show. Those are all part of these 24 different scenes that I can switch between. Cameras 1, which is my straight-on camera right here. It's this little camera in front of me, and it's a pan-tilt zoom camera. They're doing another replay. So that's my camera 1, which gives this view, and then I can have the picture-in-picture with the zoom or picture-in-picture with what's coming off the tube. Camera 2 is an over-the-shoulder shot. Normally, during the regular shows, I have that zoomed out on to what I call camera 2 normal. There is that camera 2 normal, which shows Julia's table, her desk there, and myself here on camera 2. I have a little monitor back there so I can see what's showing on camera 2 if I turn around to look at it. And I can zoom camera 2 in to what I call the MCR, the Master Control Room shot. So you all watching can see this up closer. And then camera 2 can also get a close-up of Julia, a side view if we need. We also get a shot of the Beach Street Yacht Club Burgee if need be. That's all on camera 2. Go back to MCR. So what's going on here? Did they give the Brits the win in the walkover? Or is this a replay? This isn't a replay. This says start in 6 minutes 30. So we're on to the next match. There's Julia signing on to the Zoom. Hearing us talk about her upstairs. Did they give the win to the Brits in that other match? Did they actually get that started? How did that work? Now we've got the Italians and American Magic. The Italians and Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli and NIAM, as I call them, New York American Magic, scheduled to race. Yes, getting on to race. Yes, Alex. Okay, so you're all confirming. The Brits are now up 2-0. Okay, we'll give them a update our score sheet here. So while we're waiting for more wind here, camera 3 is Julia's camera, and that is the normal shot on camera 3 where Julia sits. Her close-up, and she also has a PIP with Rick Bannerow's paintings there in the photos, actually, in the background on the Studio B door. So I can switch between a close-up of her and then the PIP shot when her actually over C3 normal. And I can use her camera for other things during this show. I can also go have a look at OBR. There is the trimaran back, camera 3 over my shoulder, showing a close-up of the trimaran behind me, but I normally use that during the show as another camera angle here if you want to see something other than this angle of the background. We can also show this angle of the background. Okay, so much for a Studio B tour. Over here I've got camera 4,
very well established,
which is right up here. There's another pan tilt zoom camera, and that is.
I've set a new start time of 16:08.
There's some audio coming in from somebody there. I don't know if that's Julie, if that's your audio on up there. You turn your audio off, please, on your Zoom, or somebody, one of the Zoomers. So that is camera 4 right up here on this boom that holds the shotgun microphone. and that shoots the TV camera, or the TV screen rather, over here. Now they're back to now 9 minutes. Restarted the clock. There's just not enough wind. Closing in on 7 a.m. here, closing in Barcelona on 4 in the afternoon. So that's camera 4. Cameras 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 normally being Julia's camera. And there's a tour of Studio B as we wait for some wind to come here in Barcelona. 8 minutes 35 as we close in on 7 in the morning. We've been on the air for 2 hours here in San Francisco. Welcome to all of you. Our show 741. It's 2 in the morning in Auckland. It's midnight in Sydney. Ted Ryman in Cape Town, where it's 4 in the afternoon, 1600, and so on. Those poor guys are trying to fill, and they can't show their cameras in Studio B. And they don't have all of you smart FOSI from around the world chipping in.
Just to see if there's any sort of breeze coming down the court. It's really important to actually...
Rye Rover, PVD, he must be in Providence. Is that what that means, Rye Rover? I see you were the first one on this one, very early on the comments. The pairing is the match. This pairing, Gordon Smith is saying, is the, see his comment up middle of the page there, is the match of the day. If AM fail to win, it would suggest they face an uphill challenge regardless of the conditions. Good point, Gordon Smith. It is light, but it's light and flat because it was not windy. It's out of the east, southeast, and if there's breeze overnight, then it's lumpy, and if there's no breeze overnight, of course, there is no lump here on the western end of the Med. Fog Machine asking if American Magic are using the same cyclors as in the first match. I don't know that. I suspect not. I suspect they've cycled, no pun intended, cyclors in for this second race of the day for them. That software you have for the scenes is pretty sophisticated. It's actually free software, Chris, actually, called OBS. Oh, man, they've started the clock again. It's called OBS, which is for, I remember what the O stands for, something broadcast software. What does that stand for? Something broadcast software. Oh, yeah, I think it is open. Landsberg. Thank you. He's a coder, tech jockey here in the Bay Area. OBS, open broadcast software. It's free. It is quite sophisticated. It's kind of like some of the other freeware, or you make a donation. I've thanks to the FOSI who support us via Patreon, I have made a donation or two to OBS because it is fairly sophisticated software, and there is paid versions of this. That's actually some of which is quite expensive, but this is free, and they update it regularly. It's shareware, it's freeware. And you can have it quite simple with just a program and preview screen, and you can have just a few scenes here. You can reset this to 4 scenes or 8 scenes, or in this 16 scenes, or in this case 24 scenes, so that I can switch between them with a mouse. Some people prefer not to use the mouse to switch otherwise. If you look up here, I've got another screen overlaying this that has the comments coming in from both YouTube and Facebook, all 3 platforms. And if I move that screen, you can see there's another window up here, and I can put this in studio mode, which means I can see what's on the air here program, and over on this screen, it's a preview. I can switch one of these scenes into it and check to be sure it's good before I put it on air. But I don't use studio mode. I just use the straight up mode, which allows me to cover that other screen with the comments. So I can see everything right here, and my camera, I can look at the screen and almost look like I'm almost look like I'm actually looking at myself on the screen. And if I look over at the comments, it's not too far off of the camera. It's like having a teleprompter in a studio, which is why the camera hangs down a little bit in front of this screen. So when I am looking at OBS, this camera right in front of the screen, it looks like I'm looking at the camera when I'm not quite. I'm actually looking just slightly off to the side. Now I'm looking at the camera. Now I'm looking at myself. And okay, enough of all that. Obviously, we're filling for time as they're playing another video here on the broadcast. 2 hours and 4 minutes, 2 hours and 5 minutes into today's watch party on YouTube and Facebook. We have dropped, so I can see the stats here. I go check, you can see up here now the stats. In today's 2 hours and 5 minutes, we have dropped 0 frames. Julia knows I'm a bit of a tech nerd, and I really live and, not quite live and die, but I live and breathe by these stats. I try to prepare for you all the best possible show at 1080p, broadcast HD, 1080p, 30 frames a second. Since we're mostly a talking head show, I don't do it at 60 frames a second, but 1080, 30. And we've so far today in 2 hours and 6 minutes dropped 0 frames, streaming at the high HD definition that we are. As far as the computer, the Mac Studio, basic Mac Studio is not even that wicked up. We have dropped 0 frames due to encoding lag, and that's taking all these video sources and encoding it that can be used and sent up to and used by the internet, by those streaming services. The computer does that. We've so far dropped 0 frames due to encoding lag. And frames missed to rendering lag, which is actually putting together to make images, we've dropped 2 frames. And that's out of a total of just about 250,000 frames. Pretty good. And we do work, and as a lot of the FOSI know, we do work on that from time to time. You'll see me go on testing between shows, and that's to be sure that or to try to, we're A/B testing different things to see if we can improve the stream and be sure it's robust, it's rock solid. So we're looking on the deck of American Magic, somebody talking to Tom Slingsby, the A helmsman. Their TV signal broke up. Those TV cameras out on the water, it's a very complex system, of course, to get all that video off the water via microwave. I think they're using microwave, not fancy cellular system. Although these days you can do it via 4 and 5G as well. But still, you can see the numbers on that screen are well below the 6.5 knot wind limit. 4 knots, 5 knots, showing a little more over here, showing a little more up at the top end. What are they saying on the commentary here?
Yeah, I think all the teams do, and they'll all have their speciality. But part of it is that it's organization. It's a big team.
Mark Holland, another clever comment. Cy, we'll never get those 2 frames back out of 250,000 frames.
Some people's coaches have been with them.
Yeah.
Just looking at Luna Rossa here,
like as Jonathan Frank would say, it's like plane seats that leave. You're not going to get those empty plane seats back when a plane goes out less than full. A full bus. Ugh. Mark Holland, Alex Hayworth, Forza Amagico, making an Italian name out of New York Yacht Club's American Magic. Yeah, a tapas break would be nice, Lance. I was just thinking, I have a banana in here in Studio B in case I needed some fortification. Commodore Harrington, Tom, would you give me the Zoom info again? With pleasure, Claire. It is 267-220-6570, 1851. Vice Commodore Claire Harrington, New York Yacht Club, FOSI, has been on the show via Zoom. I guess on Sunday we had 4 of you on. It was great to have Christopher Gillingham in Leamington and Graham Sweeney up in Scotland. And we had Claire Harrington, who was at her home. The Vice Commodore was on her home, at her home in Greenwich, Connecticut. She also has a home in Newport, Rhode Island, no surprise. And she's just put her yacht, or is in the process of putting her big, beautiful yacht away for the winter. It's the end of August.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
So it's official.
There it is. They pulled the plug.
Vuitton Cup has been called by race management. Not enough wind to get us going for race number 7. Ouch, that does hurt for sailors and fans alike, but that's just what Mother Nature's all about.
Yeah. Okay, Steve McGyver, you can say what you want. The venue is not correct, gentlemen. Any final thoughts, Lance?
So it's been a cracking old day to a point. We had one race.
You know, it's a shame, but we'll just have to play again tomorrow.
Yeah, we shall. There's the Commodore signing on. Graham, any last-minute thoughts?
Well, the highlight of my day, I'm sorry for going offline a little bit there. But I just had to get me and the partner just to chase a few sheep off the hill from the garden. So that's about as bad as it gets. I mean, we'd like to see some sailing, but wow.
Okay, we're losing Claire, your audio background. If you can mute yourself for a sec, please.
Sure.
Yeah, or just mute your audio. Graham, go ahead and say again. You were chasing some sheep off.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't. My partner was. I could hear a kerfuffle in the background, and I thought, "Wow, something's going on. That sounds interesting." So I went and had a quick look, and she was coming in with a dog and getting the sheep off the garden. So got some stray sheep. That's the highlight of my day so far.
Well, thank you for coming on. There's the closing shots from the TV in Barcelona. Nice shot overlooking. I don't know. That's not Familia Sagrada, but Barcelona, beautiful town. And Claire Harrington is there. Commodore, are you with us?
I am. I'm sorry, late to the game.
Well, welcome. You're in your apartment in Barcelona. You didn't get there in time to get out on the water today, I guess.
No, I got here about 5 minutes before the races began, so, or were scheduled to begin. So, but I'm here and looking forward to some more wind.
Good flight. What is it? Is it nonstop JFK to BCN? What, 8-9 hours? 7.
7. But because of some weather, I guess, further west in the United States, they were delayed. So we didn't take off until almost 2 hours after we were scheduled to. So anyway, I got here just before 2 o'clock, Barcelona time, and painfully watched the American Magic race, but happily they got it over the line, and it's one in the bag, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's Mark Reed, several people chiming in. Julie upstairs is saying hi. Mark Wharton Reed. Hi, Vice Commodore Harrington.
Hi.
And if you would, Claire, if you'd please go over with your Sailing Illustrated hat on, not that you're anything official with us, but you go over and ask Grant Dalton, give him my warm personal regards, tell him how much I think of his venue.
I certainly will. I'll probably see him on Monday.
And say hi to him for me. And then if you would please ask him what's going on with their yacht. Any word you've heard there?
As if he'd tell me, right?
Yeah, well.
We'll see. No, certainly everyone wants to know. And as there is a gathering for the principals on Monday at the yacht club here, the Real Club Nautico
Barcelona.
There we go.
They've got 4 matches. They just showed the schedule. Sorry to interrupt there. I was trying to get that on the screen. There's the race committee boat heading back in. Good looking boat that is. So you're having a meeting of the principals on Monday?
Well, a reception.
Reception. So it's social.
Yeah. So social, yes, exactly.
Well, if they're, they've got a superb shore team, and after they did we were talking about in the show, you probably heard it, the cartwheel that they did in Bermuda, and they managed to repair that overnight.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were holding their breath, wondering if they were going to be able to stay in the action. And not only did they get it repaired and then stay in the action, but they went on to win in Bermuda and take the cup back to Auckland, which is why we are now in Bermuda. And a lot of our FOSI, our Kiwi FOSI, not amused that it's in Barcelona. New Zealand having a bit of a dip right now in their economy, and they would love to have the economic impact of the cup in New Zealand. And I rather suspect the Kiwis would be better off as the defender in terms of their own success. If they were in New Zealand, I doubt the crane accident would have happened. And I know, as the former Vice Commodore of Golden Gate Yacht Club, and I argued, as you know, vociferously against letting Golden Gate Yacht Club move the event to Bermuda after we won here in 13, but Mr. Ellison and Mr. Coots wanted to go there because of the $70 million on offer to host the event. And at that point, I politely, quietly stepped down as Vice Commodore of the Golden Gate Yacht Club because I believe the venue should be in the home waters of the defending club.
Not a bad thought, for sure. It's very unfortunate that they had this accident, and it's it's like anything else. You have difficulty so far away from home. It's one thing to have a great shore team remotely or in a distant place, but it's not like having your gang at home and all the support that goes with it. So this has got to be a challenge. But the Kiwis, and I've said this to you before, Tom. The Kiwis and all the teams, quite frankly, when we had our massive failure in Auckland, they really rallied. It was a great show of sportsmanship and support, and we'll be ever grateful.
And I'm sure the teams there, as you and I talked last night, the teams there will also pitch in and try to help the Kiwis through this period if they can. Which is which is the way the America's Cup used to be, and it's the way the America's Cup should be.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of your fans, a lot of New York fans, a lot of American Magic fans on here. Richard Lawton saying, bring the old mug back to Newport. And I know you've got a good relationship with Pensacola, Florida. Past Commodore Tom Pace of the Pensacola Yacht Club off and on here. I haven't seen him this morning, but you've got a good training base and also a potential wintertime regatta center there in Pensacola, as well as, of course, the fabulous history and tradition of Newport, where the cup was from 1930 until we lost it in 1983.
Yeah, well, Tom and I have met on many occasions. He's a wonderful guy, very enthusiastic, energetic. He's a lot of fun.
He is indeed. Well, Vice Commodore, we'll let you get back to your duties there in Barcelona, where it's in your afternoon, 15, 16, 17 minutes after 4 in the afternoon. Thanks for checking in with us.
Okay.
Give Mr. Dalton my warm personal regards.
I certainly will.
But seriously, I don't know if you saw, we had Chris Otorowski came on from John Heal's boat. We had some nice pictures of Half Houseboat as well. Are you going out on the water tomorrow?
I'll be going out on the water. I think tomorrow. I don't know. As you know, I just literally hit the ground running here. But I'll be going out. I'll either be at the base or I'll be out on Whisper, or there are a number of yacht club members here who have boats here. Tom Hutton is another, and so I'll be getting out there for sure. And I also have a ride on one of the hydrogen boats. So that'll be fun.
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about those boats too. You can give us if you get on a hydrogen boat, it'd be fun for you to have is it an iPad or a phone that you use when you're remote?
I have both, actually. I have, right now I'm on my iPad, and I have my laptop here, and I also have my phone. So I'm connected for sure.
I think Chris Otorowski was, I don't know if it was an iPad or a phone, but they had a good speaker, and the whole gang were chipping in. John Heel chipped in, as did Sean Otorowski. It was nice. Stingray is saying, thank you, Claire. Apparently, we're going to have a little bit better wind tomorrow. I'm not quite sure, Claire, what the forecast is.
Yeah, I haven't.
Apparently
seen it yet.
quite a bit better on Sunday. I do have a forecast here that I pulled off just before we went to air this morning. Let me skip through to that. And there is the Saturday forecast. If I can bring that up. Tom, to the control room, please bring that up. And the control room brought it up magically at 1400 tomorrow, Saturday, the August 31st. Still lightish. In fact, showing lighter than what it showed on Windfinder today. They were showing 7, gusting 7. Tomorrow they were showing 6, gusting 6. That, of course, could change overnight.
I'm seeing 11 to 12 between 2 and 5 from the southeast.
Yeah, they're showing southeast here too, Claire. What service is that?
I use what's this called? I use a bunch of this one is Sailflow.
Sailflow. Well, that's good. They're good too. So we'll see. This is a little old. I think this is now what, 3 hours old. I probably pulled that off at about 20 after 4 in the morning here. Okay, Commodore, thank you very much indeed. And to you as well, and to everybody there connected with your team, the British team, any of the challengers. We're all, as you know, we're all for the challengers. We hope you all get yourselves better and better and better. And one of you then gets forward and beats the Kiwis. That's the name of the America's Cup game.
There we go.
Good job.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay. I don't know if, may I tell people what you did at St. George's all those years?
Sure.
Well, one of the things that Claire and I have
My
bonded,
former life.
and her former life, but still, we both love music. And Claire was for many years were you the director of music? Was that the right title?
I was the department head. Yeah.
Department head at St. George's, that very prestigious prep school there in Middletown, which is the next town up the island from Newport on Quidnick Island. And I used to coach I was the assistant coach. I don't want to get Mr. Tim Waltz, the vice presidential candidate here. He calls himself the coach. He was only an assistant coach. I was only an assistant coach at St. George's, but I come clean about that. In any event, Claire and I share a love for music, and she is so talented. She was the organist, and we now realize that she played organ at a funeral in the, what do they call the chapel there at St. George's?
The St. George's Chapel.
And you were playing the organ at the late, great George Ferguson's funeral. Yeah. And I don't remember if Leslie came with me, but I'd flown from Europe to his funeral. They were dear close friends of ours. Your namesake, Claire Ferguson, who is still with us, and living there in Jamestown, Rhode Island. Well, George Ferguson and Claire Ferguson are the parents of the American Magic technical director, design team coordinator, Scott Ferguson, who also, by the way, is a hell of a good hockey player and still is. So there's a small connection.
I'll check in with him tomorrow.
Say hi to Scotty for me and the rest of the gang, to T. Hutch and so on. Thanks, Claire. Ciao for now. Okay.
Take care. Bye.
And that's it for us. We'll pot down. Thanks again, Graham. Thanks again to the others who signed in. Lance Burke, who signed in via Zoom. We'll do that again tomorrow. Those of you who want to join them, 267-220-6570 is our standard meeting ID, 1851, the passcode. And Stingray and Gordon Smith making dirty jokes about, they told me they knew a girl who was an organist. Bob Piste is reminding us to go look in on the TP52s over in Puerto Portals. Chris Exley, yes. Oh, well, we tried. Yeah, we did try, Chris. And we will be back at it tomorrow with this forecast, or hopefully Claire's forecast. Regardless, I hear it's better on Sunday. As we're about 7:23 here in the morning, we're going to get off after 2 hours and 23 minutes. But that gets us to the finish line. Thanks, Mark Holland. Thanks, Jonathan Shore. 2 minutes to the next TP52 start. I'll go look at that as well when we get off the air here. Graham Sweeney and the rest of you who have joined us, whether on the comments or on Zoom. Hanging with the lasers tomorrow. Okay, have fun, Larry, with that gang. And in the meantime, that gets us to the finish line. Thank you to all of you for joining us. Please, even this is the watch party, helps us helps Julia and myself if you like, follow, and share this show. It's an official show. It's number 741 from memory. And as we always say, comments are welcome. Ken Saban joining from Toledo. Comments are welcome, even in replay. So if you're watching this on demand and replay, you can leave a comment as well. And we got a new couple of people who signed up yesterday to our Patreon, became a patron at patreon.com/join Sailing Illustrated. Thank you very much for that, your support. And those of you who have done that know who you are, and the couple newbies that we got yesterday, thanks especially to all of you. Rick Bannerow says, see you tomorrow. He's off to shoot the Vineyard race, the superb photographer that he is. Ed Worley, thanks to you down in SoCal. And again, we'll see how the weather shapes up tomorrow, hopefully better than the 6 gusting 6. Let's hope that Claire's forecast is better than mine. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day wherever you are. We are not going to do a show today at 1300. I'm stuffed. It takes too long to prepare the show. It takes me all Sunday, the night before, and then all morning to prepare the show, and I'm stuffed. I want to relax a bit. So no show at 1300 today, no regular Friday show, but we'll be back tomorrow morning at 0500 for show number 742, a watch party covering, of course, the Louis Vuitton Cup, Day 3. Ciao for now.